Welcome to a Homestar Passe Realty Network, Mastering Real Estate training event.
Well, folks, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce our next teacher, trainer, and speaker to you because she is an example of exactly what I think our company has to offer. One of the things that I want you to have a clear perspective about is no matter how much you're taught, how much you're trained, you have to make the commitment and the decision to be successful. When you do, and if you do, you will see it come to life for you. Our next teacher trainer is a young lady that came with us about 5 years ago. She's been through everything that you could possibly go through that most people would have quit. Literally would have quit. Would have said, I can't do this. I don't have the time. I don't have the, that wasn't her. She made a commitment to be successful. And because of that commitment she's made, she has been willing to pay the price for success. And guys, it's a great deal of pleasure for me to tell you that she went from a starter in the business to now where she's our district vice president and general sales manager over the entire company. So we didn't take that lightly whenever we gave her that designation and that opportunity. She earned it and she deserves it. And consequently, I think you will be as well pleased with her as we are. She's committed to your excellence. She is dedicated to your success. And she's here and she's going to teach you this afternoon. So having said no more about her, let me just introduce to you Jennifer McLaughlin.
What? You did this on purpose because you knew I wouldn't have done it. Okay. All right. Everybody knows I'm Jennifer McLaughlin, and I've been here for about 5 years. And one of the reasons I'm still here is because I think this is one of the best places to get an opportunity to get started. You can't hear me? There are very few companies that allow you options on how to get started, whether you want to come in part-time and build up a business before quitting your job and then come in full-time if you're retired and have the funds to go out and spend. We have a lot of options. We set this up to be home-based, to give you a start, to give you a chance with limited funds to get started. And I'm passionate about that, and that's why I like being here and I do what I do. One of our best agents right now is a part-timer. She teaches school all day, and the woman's outlisting everybody. And I believe in that. I think everybody should have that chance of getting to come out here and do this without forking over your life savings to go work somewhere else. So I love being here. What we're going to cover today is a little bit more of the details of things that Faith went over this morning. We're going to kind of create some cheat sheets so that when you get that first appointment, you'll be a little bit more prepared. You'll have a little bit more idea of what you need to do. And it's going to have a little homework, too. I want you to, go home. Like Terry said, if you make the commitment, then you can do this right, whether you're full-time or part-time. I gave y'all some stuff. Some of it, I think the phone numbers are a repeat of what that Faith gave you. But, hey, an extra copy of everybody's phone numbers does not hurt. These phone numbers, though, do not mean that you get on the phone. This is a policy and procedures. This is kind of what, right now we're doing policies and procedures kind of thing. When you have a question, the first person you call is who brought you into the business, okay? Who is your upline? Who is your sponsor, mentor, whatever name they're using? That's who you call first. Don't call them, leave a message, hang up the phone, and go to the next person. Give them a chance to call you back. Okay, especially if I'm your sponsor, because I usually call you back in a couple minutes. I was usually on the phone. We give you all these numbers because, yes, we realize that sometimes you do have to find somebody. And we want you to be able to know how to get to all the other offices and just any info you might need. I just want everybody to remember, excuse me, your first stop is your upline person, your mentor. So that's what we give you the phone numbers for. Gave you a blank to write down who your sponsor is. And I guess it's not on this one. This is the next part. Go to the policies and procedures part. This is an abbreviated policies and procedures manual that just addresses most of the common things we have get confusing with the new people because they're just not sure how we do things yet. This isn't our full policy and procedures. It gets into, we're equal opportunity employers. This is a reference manual for you to keep in this book that Faith gave you, which is meant to become your go-to book. She gave you the complete, almost all the handouts you'll be getting in training. In our courses, and it's meant to be designed to keep adding that stuff too. So part of it is this basic interview. One thing that gets our overview. One thing that gets confusing is when you bring in an agent. We need to remind y'all. The first step is they need to come in here on Thursdays at 4 o'clock and meet Terry and hear the plan and decide if it's something that appeals to them. Once they've done that and he gives Faith and I the okay, and they have a license, then they're going to meet with us. We're going to sit down on them and gather all their information. Had an incident last week where somebody faxed me a 2050 saying this agent's ready to go. Had the wrong cell phone number on it, and that's the only number I had for this supposed agent. So that's why we have them make an appointment, come sit down calmly. We can gather their name, their address, copies of everything we need. So remember that when you're recruiting somebody. Have them come here Thursday at 4, and then we'll make an appointment from there. Once you get through that, we're going to send you to your office manager. Your office manager is going to give you your farm area that Terry talks about. This is designed to be a beginning platform to get you started, to give you a chance to start getting some listings, start getting the phone ringing. It's not meant, unless you want to be extremely part-timer like I was, to be your sole means of generating business. When I started out, this was solely what I did because that worked for me. But if you're wanting to hit this and make a living and keep a roof over your head, this is just to jumpstart you. Get you out there, get the phone ringing. And your office manager is going to give you floor duty, if you so choose, so if you're part-time or full-time, and we're going to go through that. But your sponsor is going to be the one to take you to the office, take you there, get you hooked up with the office manager, and get you started. They're going to show you how to do your cards. They're going to show you how you do your mailing labels. So that's just the basic steps of getting started. So we don't, we always want to make sure everybody understands that part. The one thing you need to let your people know, and which I hope all y'all were told, is the training includes doing a day like today, and then the weekly training, which on this says Thursday nights, but we have changed it. It's going to be Thursdays during the day. I'll have a calendar tonight, or I'll email it to everybody. We have classes coming up. Next week is actually going to be ethics and professionalism, which is how real estate works. We have some people are always trying to get referral fees for just passing on a phone message. We've had incidents like that. This is how it works, how you show respect to other agents. When not to go out of your way to help an agent who's not a member of our board, and you're doing all this work, and then you realize, I'm not even the listing agent on this, and I've spent 2 days helping some other agent who's going to, we're going to cover those kind of things that new people sometimes don't understand. Okay? And that's going to be the first class next Thursday at 9:30. And so when we're going to require for you to be, if you want to go to Terry's advanced training, one of the requirements is going to be that you complete that training we have during the Thursdays. It's going to be approximately 12 to 14 classes. We're kind of adding and shifting it and redividing it. But you will be monitored. When you come, once you've completed those and met the other minimum requirements, then you'll be qualified for the advanced training, which is his foreclosure class. And then you can move on for that part. Being consistently around, visible at the training is one of the requirements. Having at least 6 residential listings and having had at least 3 closings and having sponsored 2 agents is what he wants to see before you move on to the next level. The reasoning behind that is, if you don't understand even a basic closing, how can you go talk to somebody about a foreclosure? How can you know what you need to do without your brain feeling like it's been fried? So we want you to have had some experience under your belt so that when you're dealing with these foreclosures, because they're very complicated and a regular closing is complicated enough without throwing in lawyers and auction dates and the bank knocking on the door. So we just want you to be grounded, okay? we always like to remind everybody, if you're sponsoring people to get your overrides, that's not free. You have to show that commitment to your person and be there to help them. And, at least yourself be doing the minimum work plan, which is the 100 mail outs a week. Okay, that's a requirement to get the overrides. It's not a free ride. You need to do the work. Then we get to floor duty. Am I talking too fast? I need to go up louder. I feel like I'm shouting as it is. Okay. In a real estate office, you have what's called a floor schedule. It's an opportunity for you to answer those phones. We spend thousands of dollars on advertising to get the phones to ring. Buyers call on the ads. That's a paycheck. Your office manager's beginning every month going to ask you what you want to work. If you're strictly part-timer and have no desire for it, that is fine. But be fair to your fellow agents. If you make the commitment to be there, you need to be in that office, because the other agents and that office manager make their appointments around when they think the office is supposed to be covered. So when you don't show up, especially in some of our smaller offices, it really causes a hardship and inconvenience on your fellow workers and causes tension. If you can't do it and you know you can't be there consistently, don't sign up. Show up when you can to come in here and work. But if you do that, you have to understand that call, if a call comes in, that's not your sales call. If that buyer wants to do something, it goes to that person who made the commitment and signed up on that floor schedule. You can't, as I always call it, flittering in the office, snatching up a call. That person actually buys that house, and somebody was sitting there for 4 hours, doing their commitment, but you didn't feel you could do that. That's not how real estate works, and that's one of the things we cover in this first class coming up. Okay, so unless you're on that schedule, you have no right to that floor call. Okay, so they're going to do that. If you can't be there, first make an attempt before calling your manager to call your fellow agents. We have a phone roster. It's getting updated about every other day lately, but we have a phone roster. Try to find somebody in your office that can switch with you or cover for you. In extreme cases, you can forward the phone to your cell phone. Like if it is, you just are going to be running an hour late or something, and you need to go show how. If you have to, you can forward it if you're going to actually answer the phone. Don't forward it to your home where you have no cell phone signal. That kind of defeated the purpose. We had an agent recently that got almost a $300,000 listing because she was the only real estate office person answered the phone. People don't like voicemail. They'll keep right on going. So if you're going to forward it, you need to be responsible and make sure you're going to be able to be in an area. Yes, sometimes we're on the phone. I'm not talking about it, but you need to be where you can answer the phones. Always answer the phone with the name of the company and may I help you. Okay? Now we get some weird versions sometimes. If somebody's calling about a property, this is key on your floor duty. Don't tell them it's sold and then hang up the phone. What did you just do? Yes. What did I do? Did it fall? Oh.
I think it fell down over here.
I taught with my hands and he told me I can't move them. Oh, thank you. All right. Okay. All right now. The point of the phone ringing and the point we spend on the advertising is to get a lead. If the phone rings, try to get their name, number, start a conversation with them. And we talk more about that later in the Thursday trainings. I just want to tell everybody when you're first coming in to remember, try to get some kind of contact info from them. Don't hang up the phone, okay, without getting some. We found in St. Augustine, a lot of people, they might not give you the phone number, but they're real quick to give you an email address. So, just ask, hey, well, that was too high for you. Maybe I can find you something else. Can I have some way to get back in touch with you? That's all it takes. Don't let that phone hang up without an attempt, okay? When you're using the floor desk computers, don't go storing all your own stuff on there. You got disk, and I know Faith covers that part. Get some kind of medium that you can record your own stuff. And your office manager will cover with you on how to update floor books. Each office manager will teach you how to go into the MLS and have you do that, okay? I'm not going into the whole building of the listing files. We do that real intensive when we do listings and listing presentations and how to service your listings. But the things we have the biggest trouble with is I've got the listing agreement, I filled out my checklist, now what? You need to fax it to the main office. You need to make sure that it's all signature documents. And when I say signature documents, it's anything that the seller has signed. Don't forget to do it. But you need to make an extra copy for you of your commission checklist because that's what we use in our weekly reporting for your office manager to update their reports to Faith. It goes to the main office. If you have an escrow check, make a copy. Put it in the file. And then if it's going to us, like if I know Faith's covered, at least get it to here and somebody will get it to Edie, but you have a day. A day. Okay, we're about to do the contractor agreements, and we reemphasize that. You have a day, not 3 days, a day to get it. But if you're taking it, and if you're taking it to a title company, get a receipt. Make them give you a receipt and put it in the file, okay? And that's about all I'm going to hit on right now on the listing agreements because we do that, different. Sales contracts and offers. Every offer, every sales contract is the same procedure. Checklist. Fax it to Edie. Fax it to the main office. If an offer falls through, do not throw it in the trash. It stays in that file. Keep it in there and make sure when it falls through, you write real big across the top, fax cover sheet, whatever. Hey, deal fell through, on Edie, so that her and Faith know to cancel it out. Sometimes they get a new contract. They go, well, it's already pending. What do you mean? So make sure when you have a change, you make it clear and you get it sent into St. Augustine, okay? But do not forgive. Always get a copy of those deposits, though, please. Okay, this is the other doozy that everybody gets confused on. Commission checks. When you take your commission checks to Edith, you got 3 important things to get paid. The commission checklist, copy of the HUD-1, and the check. The check and the copy of the HUD-1, the title company is going to give you. Make a copy and stick them in your file if you're in an outlying office. But you need to get those to Edith with your checklist filled out right. She's got 3 days, guys, to write you a check. 3 days. And that doesn't mean if you had a closing at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, that Tuesday was a day. We're going to do banking hours. If it gets to her after I say 11, because that's usually when she goes to the bank, then your countdown starts the next day. She has 3 days because she has to get it in the bank, get it clear, get all her, write all the checks out, do all her monitoring of the overrides, and write your checks. So 3 days, guys. And don't count those days when it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and also she needs that checklist signed by your managers. Most of the time, it has a signature for brokers, but since I'm not in the office, we're not holding you up because I haven't had a chance to sign it. So that's not going to hold you up. I always just love those panicked phone calls at 8 o'clock going, I was about to send this over and I need you to sign it. The broker, we'll let that one go, but you need to have your office manager make sure you've gotten all your copies, okay? Dress code. We work in some rural areas. Jeans are fine if you look presentable and you have a nice shirt on. I do know, like interlocking, a lot of times you're out tramping in the woods. I imagine there's a lot of Crescent City it's like that. So that is no problem. You just want to look presentable. Don't come in with ones that got paint on them, holes in them. Look nice, look professional. It's a reflection on you if you don't. That's what's key. People are not going to want to... Everybody's picking on me because I just bought a used new car. Well, because this year I said I'm going to go out and work more than just working with y'all. And when you're driving a Nissan Sentra because you bought it, and an old one at that because you bought it for the gas mileage, and you pull up and you hand people a card that says broker, and they're looking at their car and they're looking at you. So if you dress sloppy, it's the same thing. They're going to be looking at you going, you're going to sell my property? So always, be clean, be neat. Yes, jeans, tennis shoes, sometimes that's the way to, you have to dress when you're going to be out tramping in the woods. Women don't want to look silly out there walking a lot with high heels on, right? And like I said, resort casual attire, I guess what we're shooting. Capris are fine, because we know you're not New York City. Okay, we got some pretty rural places. I don't know why this is here. The phone calls, if a lot of our agents don't work in the office all the time, if you take a message for an agent call their cell phone and pass on that message and then make a note on it. Okay? That's important. We have a lot of people who work jobs during the day or in the evening, and we need to make sure they get their messages. Okay? And then here's what about the handling of the listings, about faxing this stuff in, getting all your changes in so that we can keep our records updated. Everybody wants to get credit for being top sales or top lister, but if we don't have you accurately every week or every time you have a change on a listing, send it in, we can't accurately know that we're giving somebody the right award. So that's why that's important to do that every week. Does anybody have any questions about that? So this is just a general overview. It's not a full office policy. These are just some of the repeat areas that we have to keep coming back to. So that's pretty straightforward, right? Okay. In the book she gave you, we get into listings. I gave you some extra forms, and in that first packet, she gave you a listing agreement and a sales contract. What I want to do is we're going to talk about some of the key weak points. So when you're writing your first one, you'll remember what's important, which everything's important, but there's some parts that are really critically important to remember and get. So like if you want to pull out that first packet that Faith gave you with the name tag thing, you're going to create a cheat sheet. I still have my cheat sheet from 5 years ago from working with Chuck. Yes, want to stop? Okay. What'd that take, like 10 minutes? Are we ready to talk about the sales contract? Just go through, make notes on this. Like I said, you want to put these in your to-go answer book. And what I want to have you do is I want you to go home sometime, sit down, and read through it. Make notes to yourself, and what you don't understand, go to your upline or me, and we'll go through it. It's important to read them and understand them so that when that more experienced agent comes out and goes, I want your seller to fix all the carpet in that living room before my buyers will go ahead with the deal. Wrong answer. According to your contract, that's cosmetic. It does not have to be replaced. But if you read it and you know it inside and out, you're not going to get flustered by somebody that, comes off. I won't say they know more than you, but they've been through it. They know better, but they'll try it. Okay? So that's what I want you to go home and really read them. If what you don't understand, you need to go to your upline. And then if they don't know, they're going to come to me. Okay? These are your key points. I want you to make sure you note here on your cheat sheet to not forget. And I want you to pound them in your head and repeat them to yourself. Sellers' names. Get the full seller's name like they want it on the deeds or on any of the paperwork. It's on the thick packet, the residential sale and purchase. You got it? Okay. This is the document you're sending to the title company. So you got to make sure that you have the information they need. I encourage you to write their address and their marital status, because that's just one less thing the title company has to call and bug them. If it's not your listing, ask the listing agent who are the sellers. The owner of record or leaving it blank stresses me out, because that's technically not a binding contract if it ends up having to go to court. Okay? Doesn't take much effort to take their tax ID number and at least find out who the county claims owns the property. Okay? Same thing with your buyer. Put their full names like they want it on a deed, and marital status. MC for married couple, single male. That's just one less thing the title company's got to go find. Okay? And if they're taking title on something different, we're not going to bog everybody down. But if somebody mentions to you, we don't want to take this, as tenants in common, we're going to be doing it this way, make a note there with the buyer column. We're doing it as a limited liability corporation. If there's anything like that, they're going to probably tell you. Now, this is the key. Physical address and legal description are your most important things on here. That's what they are buying. I don't leave them blank. If you have these lots, which a lot of y'all in Putnam County have this all the time, if you have these lots that are 000 unknown, I understand that. But make make sure you have the full legal. And when you make your checklist, use the like block 1, lot 2, Green Acres subdivision so that Edie can keep them straight because she gets these closing statements. They have the legal. When she gets the HUD 1, it's the legal description, but it's filed under 000 unknown. So she gets it and she thinks she hasn't gotten the paperwork. So make sure that, when you fill out your stuff, use the legal on these unknown street names. Okay. If it's a long legal, attach a copy of the deed. That's, just put see attached. Do not leave the legal description blank and put a tax ID number because I'll call you. Tax ID number is not the legal, and it could be wrong. Some county employee put that in the tax records, okay? It could be wrong. So, please, do not forget when you're writing a sales contract to put the included things. And I rewrite even the things that you assume go, water softener, refrigerator, whatever, to make sure that there's no confusion with the buyer and sellers. I've had deals like almost fall apart right there at the end because they go, oh, I thought that stayed. Write it all down. Okay? Write it down. Especially if you notice it's something unusual. Like if there is a really unique chandelier hanging in the dining room, put it down. Because that might not be staying, but they forgot to tell you when you're writing this up for somebody. Then you got your basic stuff. You got your purchase price, That's pretty all straightforward. I'm just worried about the things we see get blank a lot. Closing dates. I know y'all have heard this a lot. Don't go doing some 30-day closing on an FHA, but we'll get more into that on when we get into the financing part, and we'll be bringing in people to talk to y'all about financing. But you need to think these through commonly, okay? When you're using this FAR 8, very fast last line, this is important. Highlight it. Stars all around it because you have to watch this. Seller's costs. You notice 2 blanks, $1, and it says or, and it's got a percentage amount. Okay, that's for repairs. So if your seller tells you or your buyer says they want so much, covered in repairs after home inspection, you better put something there. If this is your seller and this contract comes to you, look at that because if it's blank, it's automatically 1.5% of the purchase price. They might not be able to afford that. I've had that happen, even on a $200,000 house. Some elderly people don't have it. They couldn't afford it, So make sure that if that's blank, your seller is okay with that. All right, that they understand that. If they say, I only got $500 in the bank, that's all I can do, then you make sure that you do that. Because then here's the other kicker. When you flip the page, 2 more blanks. That's for your WDO, which we'll bring somebody and talk about that. This still irks me that mold is WDO. I say you're in Florida, everything's wet, wood gets rotted, but it's considered a wood-destroying organism because it's a single-cell organism. I have issues with that. These are 2 separate repairs. So if they say they only have $500, then divide it up. $250 here, $250 here, or 0 on the first one for regular repairs, and they'll pay $500 for WDO, which is usually where most of your repairs come in around here. Some kind of wood rot somewhere. Okay? So those are 2 key sets of blanks that you really have to watch, especially when you're representing the seller and they're on limited funds. Okay? That one bites a lot of us when you're learning. I've learned that one. I don't get bit too often. You got to watch the inspection periods when you're doing this contract. This is one of your things, and I gave you some different checklists. Got to make sure people are sticking with those dates. Okay? So highlight that too to get that in your brain. It's down under property condition. Make sure if this is your contract, whether you're the listing or buying, if you go out of these dates, it's not a contract anymore. So if it's your buyer and they got the home inspection done 2 days after the date, they can't ask the seller to fix anything, Or if a buyer comes back and it's your seller and they go, oh, the home inspection said that the roof is about to cave in and they didn't get their home inspection done in time. Well, then your your seller can be like, well, I'm not fixing it. You didn't get it done in time, and I'm not going to do it. You need to watch those dates, and that's in some of those checklists. We are not going through the rest. This is part of what I want you to read at home and what we cover more in the sales contract class. It's the legalese kind of thing. And anytime you got the kooky things that don't fit in the contract, your last page is a bunch of blank lines. You write it there. Anything kooky. contingent on this house selling by this date, or appraising at this. Well, there's a short appraisal value here on the front with financing, but sometimes you have to talk about other things. You see all these addendums? We go through those in the listing class. A lot of them you'll never need. And does everybody know where they can go get these forms? Has everybody been told yet? PlanetRealtor.com. Okay. That you could get all these forms, all these addendums when you're at home, no matter where you're at. So, and there's like 2 or 3 different versions. You have your vacant land ones. There are vacant land sales contracts, but not vacant land listing agreements. I think that's the number one new person question I get when somebody calls with a lot. They knew there was a separate sales contract and they're looking for the vacant land listing. It's the same as residential. There's no difference. So read those and come to your upline for the more detailed questions that you might have. Those were just the key points that most new people miss or mess up. Okay, so I just want to make sure y'all get those. You have your transaction broker. Y'all know y'all need to get that signed. Right of sale listings is what she had next. This is what everybody messes up on this one. The broker is the brokerage, first of all. You put the name of the company. Put the full name of the company. Watch how you put in the dates on the cell. And it says like beginning the day, 5th day of January, 2005 till let's say we're 2006 until, the next date. We see a lot of times, especially when it goes to the next year, the agents don't put the wrong year. Well, if we try to hold the seller to anything with this listing agreement, we can't. So watch when you put in the dates, and if you're taking one like in December, make sure you remember to put 2006 on the next date. That one gets everybody. And same thing goes here about getting the legals, getting the real property address. Down on the first page, when you read this, and that's why I want you to make this on your cheat sheet, make a note. It says seller expenses. It talks about the seller paying closing costs, section 3C, and there's a blank. Most people don't want to pay anybody else's. There's 1 of 3 on those listings. Has everybody found it? Watch that blank. Don't leave it blank. Put 0, a dash, something. But, or if they are willing, some are willing, as an enticement, you don't have the listing. Did you find it? Some are willing to pay % of people's closing costs as a enticement, but make sure that you cover that. We've gotten, we had one where if we had done something a little bit different, we would not have had a problem. On the second page of the listing agreement, when you get into compensation, it's section 6. On 6B, it says the percentage or dollar amount for a consideration paid for an option. Typically, we normally put 0 because very rarely does anybody do options, which is basically like renting to own. They're giving you a chunk of money and agreeing to close at a later date. But then the big question is, when do we get paid? How much do we get paid? So from now on, I want everybody putting at least half the commission there in this listing agreement. That way, if they get $10,000 on an option, we at least get half of our 6%, and we get the rest at closing. That binds us to the seller, but still, just in case everything falls apart, at least we've got some of your money for some of your work. Okay. Still leaving it blank. Section 7. A lot of new agents make this mistake. I think they've misinterpreted some things that I've said in the past. It's traditional and respectful to offer half of your listing commission in the MLS, and that's what Section 7 covers. Now, you are well within your rights if you have a 6% listing to put 2% in the MLS. But most agents aren't going to show your property, okay? The only times I've ever done it is when it's one of those listings. I have to be there every single time. And the only time that I've done it on a house, I'm glad I did, because that agent who got 2% of the money never even showed up at the house.
okay? But I dealt with his buyers. I had to send him a contract. He's a commercial agent. I had to send him everything. You should offer 50%. Think about it. When you're in MLS, and if you were looking at a $500,000 house and it said they're offering you 1%, but yet the one next door is offering 3% at the same price, which one are you going to go show your buyers? You know, so don't make that a regular habit, or other agents are going to steer clear from your listings. That hurts you and it hurts your sellers and the service that you're providing them. Okay? So people get that. So I just want to clear that up in case y'all hear anything other from your mentors. And those are pretty much the key points on your paperwork. I'm pretty much in charge of making sure we have good legal, can back us up documents. And so that's just that, and I probably hound on it too much. And getting that, agents, sign the listing agreement. That's a new one I noticed cropping up. They weren't getting signed. It says authorized listing associate or broker. So that's a key one you need to note. Make sure you're signing them and getting all the contact info. But that falls back to what Fate talked about with y'all, about building the listing file completely. But got to fill those forms in. Okay. There's other things she's had in here, but they're just odds and helpful paperwork and things we use in the listing files. Okay. I gave you in the packet, and when you get home, or not tonight, you know, when you have time, it's like a listing scenario that you've met with somebody. Take one of these listing agreements and work on filling it out. See what doesn't make sense. Take a look at the sales contract and try and fill it out as if somebody bought that listing. Just so that when you, because it's easier to do at home when you're trying to take the info and plug it in the holes than when you are sitting in front of somebody trying to do it for the first time. Okay? And hopefully your first time your upline was there with you, helping you. But it's not always possible. I know. Okay? I just feel like that should be a stopping point. You take a break. Everybody looks like... Yeah, she's out. If you want, we'll get some. They're back there in that stack. I'll pull them out. Okay. Are we ready?
Is that the flow chart for the company?
No, for what to do with your sales contracts. Yeah, like just how it kind of goes.
Oh, okay.
I gave you a couple of different versions of some stuff. Are we going? Okay. Yeah, and if you don't have it, just ask me for it. That's a basic how it flows sales contract, you know, where it's going to go, how it goes to title company. I tell everybody all the time, y'all have no idea how lucky y'all are that you're here at the company at this point in time. When I started with Homestar, it was me. Okay, you had all the kids and everything, but I was the only realtor who was coming in the office. And then Mary Lou started coming in after a while. I got my first sales contract, and I remember walking in there, and I was like wandering around the office going, okay, it's signed. What am I supposed to do with it now, you know? And Faith was there, and she was, you know, she told me, oh, you need to take it to the title company. I remember I was so nervous, I wouldn't even fax it. I actually made a copy and drove it down there, you know. Is this all I have to do? But then I found out the hard way, that's not the only thing you have to do. Things get lost. So the thing, that's why we came up with the flow chart. When you have a contract going on, you need to be follow up, follow up, follow up. Never assume that somebody's taking care of something, especially a bank. I am amazed that they ever get a loan closed. Okay, I am shocked. I don't know how many times I've been day before closing and the bank called me and go, well, where's the survey? Well, I asked you about that 35 days ago, and you said that this was a refi and you didn't need the survey. You know, boy, have you ever tried to get a survey done in a day? Not fun, okay? So you need to follow up, and I teach this when we do the sales contract, so we're not going in depth into everything. Tell people you're new. When you get like if it's your buyer and you've gotten that loan officer's number, Call them. I'm fairly new. I know how it basically goes, but what do you need from me? What can I help you get? Is there a document missing your buyer needs to give you? A lot of times they're having trouble getting the buyers to get them their pay stubs. Well, you need to get on the phone with your buyer and go, hey, if you want to get your house, you've got to get this stuff in. So it's a constant follow-up. I heard Faith talk about that sometimes you're going to get asked to order surveys or home inspections. You don't want to technically order them. If your name is on them, you're responsible for them. You can schedule them for your people. You make sure you provide them with, if it's your buyer, your seller, whichever, their name, their billing information, and you can make sure it's in the works. And then don't hesitate to call back. Surveyors are good at this. Oh, no problem. Be done in a week. Call them in a week. Have you been there yet? Believe me, surveyors, you got to watch. Home inspections are usually quick, no problems. But you got to watch those surveyors. They have a tendency to get rain. You know, they end up with unseen delays because they're out here tracking through the woods. Follow up. And that's why that flow chart's there for you. I also gave you a couple different versions of some from contract to closing checklist. Find what one works for you. This is the hardest for new people to understand. This is not a black and white, here's the rules kind of job. You have to find your own style, your own organizational skill. I can't teach you that. I can't help you with that. Nobody can. So we try every time we come across something new to run y'all copies so you can find what one makes sense for you. Like the one there with all the numbers and the circles, I don't like that one. I'd probably be missing stuff all the time. But Sean in our Palaca office likes that one. So apparently his brain works different than mine, and that works for him to keep track. Go to classes at the board, guys. We were just talking about board dues. I know Faith told you. Go to these classes. They're free. Well, they're not free. You paid $1,000 to join the board. Use their classes. They bring in some dynamite people. And that's where some of this stuff has come from, is from some of Linda's classes. Pick up a book. We have lots of them here. There's so many techniques to sales. There's so many different ways to do things. You really, to learn this business, have to find and pick and pull what works for you. You know, I'm not like Terry, who can go out and talk to everybody. I have to find my own way of approaching people. You know, I can hear what works for him, but that might not be what's my personal style. I know agents sitting right here that aren't scared to just talk to anybody, but some of us might just be a little bit more timid and need to come around with another approach. And if you read different books and you go to these different classes, you're going to hear all angles, all sides. You're going to hear different, this is what happened to me stories, which will make you more aware when you're doing these contracts. I'll give you a quick example. I had been doing this 3.5 years. Very rarely would I say I honestly walked around a property line when I took a listing and really looked to see if something looked like an encroachment. Well, after having to spend $275 to rent a jackhammer, have a closing delayed for 3 weeks, take a fence down, an issue with a brother-in-law who was supposed to do the work and didn't, and bust up a piece of concrete and fling it on the other side of the property line, I walked the property lines looking for encroachments, because that came up. It was a piece of, I mean, not as big as this desk, concrete pad that had been poured over the property line. It was 2 sisters. They got in a fight, put up a fence. Title company, or the lawyer, would not close it because of this concrete encroachment. So we had to bust it right down the property line and get it on the other side. Luckily, the buyer was like, I don't care, you can leave it there, clean it up later. And we were just flinging it over. But that took us about 3 days and a rent-a-jackhammer and a lot of work. Okay? So you'll hear those horror stories, and that'll make you aware. You'll hear other people's experiences, and that'll help you avoid the same pitfalls. So that's why we encourage you to go to classes, read books, to just get and assimilate as much as you can. Because believe me, you only do that once. You know, that was a doozy. And you don't hire your brother-in-law. Watching your dates on that follow-up. That's the key to your sales contracts, though, is watching your follow-up. Making sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Do not be scared. This isn't usually an issue for the men. It's the women. We have a tendency to be a little too timid. Don't be scared to call up and keep asking. Have you done this yet? Have you done this yet? I've been known to call somebody 4 or 5 times in a day till they finally quit. I quit going to voicemail, and I actually talk to them and make sure. Palaca, the title companies, don't hesitate to go sit in the office. They're bad about returning messages. You do what you got to do to make sure it's getting done, okay? And sometimes it's extreme and sometimes it's not. I want to hit on your farming, why this is key and what the whole concept is. We want this to be affordable for you, so you can come in the office. All you got to do is buy your card stock. You can use the office printers. We have templates that are already made. If you have Publisher, I can provide you with a copy of all the templates for listing books, postcards, business cards, with or without pictures. We know color costs more. You know, we want you to get started in what range you're comfortable with. You can come in and do it in the office for the price of your paper and your postage. Not a problem. If you do it consistently, you will keep you a base of listings that'll keep you going. But there's more to a farm than just sending out the postcards. Drive around looking, and I know y'all hear Terry all the time talk about, you see the vacant house. Okay, and probably a lot of y'all go, okay, I see the vacant house, now what am I supposed to do? And we're actually going to be covering that in about 2 weeks. But basically the point is, if nobody's living there, that could be the mother passed away 10 years ago. None of the kids live nearby. They don't even realize how much property's worth. They've probably forgotten about it because they're probably paying the couple $100 a month taxes from when she bought it, 60 years ago. Send them a special letter saying, hey, if you're not using it or you're thinking about selling it, sometimes you can even do it from the company if it's something, if you take it to Terry and go, would you be interested in buying this? It might be an equity sharing one for you. If the people owe back taxes on it, that's the first thing Terry usually has you do. If it's vacant, see if there's taxes owed on it. It could be a good possibility of an equity sharing. Okay? And we're going to talk those techniques in the farming, but I just want everybody to know this is your key to get you started. Okay? It's important. And get ready. I mean, we had agents who were all printed out and ready to go the day they went and joined the board of realtors. So it's important to do. The next and almost the last topic that we're going to cover is being an upline to somebody. This causes a lot of confusion, and this is a very important thing. If you're going to make a commitment to bring somebody into the business and to help them, you need to make that commitment. You need to be available. You need to be coming to our classes, taking them with you to go to board classes. People are hesitant and to ask for help sometimes, so you have to encourage them and reach out to them. Don't just go, oh, call me when you need me, and then go do your thing. You need to reach out to them. I'm on the phone probably 10 hours a day, easy, usually just reaching out to people, because a lot of times they're not going to pick up the phone. They think it's too silly. So you need to make sure that if you're a downline, and if you don't have a lot of experience and you want to bring somebody in and you're not comfortable, that's fine. But ask your upline if they're willing to basically take on you both. If you don't feel comfortable with it, but you really got somebody who wants to come work with you, just ask your upline if they're willing to make that commitment to both of y'all. It's totally a personal decision as to when you bring in somebody. We don't have any minimum requirements. But you want to make sure you're giving somebody all the help you wanted. So I say make sure you feel grounded and be willing to make the commitment to bring them in and get them started. Communication, we talked about that. But I might not have had as much as I thought. I want to cover floor duty. Again, not floor duty itself again. Things you need to do while you're doing floor duty. I came in for the longest time 1 day a week, 3 hours a week. That was where I printed my cards at home, but I came in, I made my schedule, time management. I'd come in every Tuesday from 9 to 12, and I cut my cards, I labeled my cards, and I stamped them, and so I knew I was going to get them out every week. Floor duty is a chance in between phone calls to get some stuff done. Get all those leads done. Those people that call and are kind of looking for something, and you get home and you get to cooking dinner and you forget. Use that time. It's not just sit there waiting on somebody to walk in the door. It's the chance to grow your business by making yourself be on a schedule.
That's how you need to look at it. Not, oh, I got to go sit in the office and the phone's not been doing. You can't wait for it to come to you. You have to get out of it what you put in. So use that downtime to follow up on all the little things that you haven't been getting done. And I know that we've all got that. You've all got something you've been thinking about doing. And I want to make sure that's what you need to use that opportunity time for. It's downtime. You can't leave the office. You got to sit there at the computer. Email those listings you've been meaning for a week to do and can't get done at home. Get those cards done. And then that branches off into the other key, last important factor that I want to cover today. Just the farming isn't going to make you successful. That's just a little, like I said, I look at it this way in my mind. Terry teaches you 3 dimensions. And I told the guys this before. To me, the farming and what I do with y'all on Thursdays is your floor of your house. Okay? And I'm helping you to build your walls. Your floors, you're kind of getting started, kind of getting some business. As you get experience, you're putting up your walls. You're growing it. And eventually you've got that roof, which is you've got enough built up that you can go on to his PDP class and go out and make yourself additional income and additional possibilities for yourself. And I know sometimes, but part of building your base is marketing yourself. There are lots of things you can do, and we can help you as a company do if you want to increase your business. Go network. I know we all hate to take our time to go to the lunches at the board or to go, but they can be enjoyable. You meet people. You get leads that way. Lynn out at Interlocking gets leads because people know her, but they don't want to drive to Interlocking. They don't want to go out there to show lots. So she gets, but because they know her, they're not just going to pick up the phone and start calling agents. And I'm talking, these are other agents that send her business. Okay. You need to network yourself and market yourself. Any of y'all that have done any kind of business, I'm sure know that. Go down, join the Better Business Bureaus. If you don't, we were having a discussion. We know a lot of things cost a lot of money. Like if you want to hand out magnets or something. Well, for like $12, you can buy 3 magnetic sheets of business. You can do yourself up about 50 magnetic cards. Skip lunch once or twice a week to buy it, run them out in the printer, cut them up, and go hand out. 50 a week's better than none at all, right? You be creative. If you see an event you think the company should sponsor that you like to be involved in, bring us the information, and if we can, we'll do it. We like to, if you have a charity that you'd like to do something for, we did very well on the yard sale that we did in St. Augustine. You want to get the company name out and get yourself out and involved because that's where you're going to meet people. And there's a lot of inexpensive ways to do it. Or if you have limited funds, there's expensive ways you can go do it too. You'll have a heyday. When splitting ad costs, I don't know how many people have done that yet. I know 4 of us out of St. Augustine are splitting a 1/4-page color ad to get our picture out more. Not that I like my picture out more. Does anybody have any questions for me, whether starting out besides your farm area?
Right.
Does anybody have any questions about how we work or what we expect or what we're trying to do? I know there's some people here that that are new. There's none?
I think we have sign-up sheets for open houses and Saturday and Sunday open office, that somebody needs to be in the office on the weekends. People need to sign up for that.
Yeah, we do need to
And if
increase
there's
the
a list on the
weekends.
board, you can't just assume somebody's going to be here. It has a sign in there.
Yeah, your weekends are your busy time. You got good time. I know Interlock and Quinn started opening up after church on Sunday because she noticed all her business cards would be gone off the door. And so for y'all, those of y'all that work, some of our offices have higher walk-in traffic than others, but the phones ring all the time. And the weekends, especially Saturdays, we put out a big color ad. Phones ring off the hook. So take some floor time on the weekends. Cover the offices. Open houses are great. If your office isn't doing a caravan, ask for one. Caravans are a great way to know the product. You can't sell what you haven't seen. Okay? You really need to see what we have. MLS sheets don't tell you a lot. And the other thing that you need to do, and it's not hurt as a new agent, is go make appointments to see other companies' listings. You can do that. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Go out and make appointments and go out and see so that you get a feel for the market. So when that person asks you, well, is this too much for this house? You'll know because you've checked out every house in that area. You've looked at the ones that closed and you did drive-bys and know what they actually closed them at, whether it was 6 months or a year ago. You paid all that money for MLS, that info's there. These are good things that you can do when you first start out, and you need to know our inventory so that if somebody calls saying, well, I really kind of wanted this, you'll know if we had that in our inventory. And if you're doing good in your farm area, you'll know if there's something similar right around where they're looking at. Because if they're calling on your listing, they're calling about your area. So you hopefully will know something else close by, and then you can refer it to an agent. Oh, that's something we need to cover. Referral agreements. Does everybody know what a referral agreement is? Okay. If you have another agent, like say out of South Florida or anywhere, Jacksonville, call you up and go, I don't want to take these people all the way down there. I'm going to refer you this customer. Or I've got a brother who lives in Palatka, but I'm not going to be able to service his listing. Will you take this listing? We have a referral agreement that I have to sign, or Chuck, if you're in St. Augustine. You pay 25% as a traditional rate that you pay to that agent that referred you that customer. Feel free, you can do that yourself. You can send out clients. Don't stretch yourself so thin that you're trying to service listings in St. Augustine when we have an office down there. You can refer them out. We want you to work where you're at so that you can service them well, service them quickly, and get them sold. I currently have one in Palatka. There's no way. I referred it out to one of our agents in Palatka, mostly because I have to be there to open the door, and I'm not going to be able to drive 50 miles on the drop of a hat if somebody wants to look at the house. But referral agreements, at any time you've agreed to pay another agent, whether it's somebody in the company or somebody outside the company, you need to have it in writing. We have a nice little form, and it's signed by all parties, including your broker, just so there's no confusions or anything. But don't hesitate if you need to do that, or if somebody calls you up with one, tell them, yeah, you can take it. I think there's some brokerages that won't let you, so some agents will call you and go, will you pay me tell them, yeah, we'll pay you one, get the paperwork filled out, and we can do that. I think that's one of the other few confusing things. Is there anything else? Anything anybody's come across yet that they're not clear about? Has everything been covered today?